Hey everyone, it's Anthony Ramos from GLAAD, and I'm so excited to be kicking off Pride Month with the one and only Adam Lambert. You know, Adam and his amazing Feel Something Foundation are partnering with us and eBay for Charity again to, kick off Pride Month and support all of our youth engagement work. And I couldn't be more excited today to have some very special people, our GLAAD Campus Ambassadors, here to talk about the amazing work that they're doing to fight for acceptance in their local communities. So everyone, please welcome Joshua Elmore, Matt Pescara, Lee Frasina, and Somaya Gupta, and the one and only Adam Lambert.
Hi.
So, Adam, I want to start with you because I think, they would prefer to hear from you than from me. Why is it so important for you? Because, you've been in this business a long time. Supporting LGBTQ youth has always been so important to you. I just would love to hear more about why it's important for you to give back.
Yeah, I feel like I look back on my own youth and my time growing up, and it just felt like there were so many missing pieces to really find peace and to find comfort in my identity and that exploration. And I'm amazed at now, like how we are in our society. There's so much more conversation. There's so much more visibility. Obviously, we have a really far way to go still, but compared to where we were when I was a teenager, it's like night and day. So I'm very inspired by the movement of this next generation. I feel like the youth have the right idea. They're focusing on the right things. The idea of like identity and that importance is something that we didn't really have that option of when we were younger. So I'm really excited to kind of do whatever I can to help facilitate more of these conversations and more of this forward motion.
Well, thank you so much. And so, the auction, which is going to be at ebay.com/Adam Lambert, all of the funds are going to be going to our work with youth engagement and the GLAAD Campus Ambassadors, which I'm so excited that all of you are here. Matt, why don't I start with you? You've been with us for a while. I'd love to hear about, a little bit about what you're doing in your community, because I think you're in Texas, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
So tell us, as a GLAAD Campus Ambassador, what are some of the things, that you've been working on to kind of, do our work and fight the good fight in your world?
Sure. So I'm a junior at UT Austin. I'm in film production, and I've been using a lot of GLAAD's resources about appropriate representation and depictions of LGBTQ people in film. And I've been working with my majors department on getting that information out there in student films so that LGBTQ people are represented correctly and accurately. And then I'm also working with student media outlets here, as well as student government, to engage in more LGBTQ content and issues on campus.
Nice. Right on. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello. Hi. It's nice to meet you.
Let's go over to Somaya. Somaya, I would love to, to hear from you and tell us about the work that you're doing and what it means to you to be working with GLAAD, to fight for queer youth and to get people to, just open their hearts and minds.
Yeah, so I actually just graduated from NYU in music business. Thank you. And so while I was at NYU, I was a leader of a club called Shades, which was specifically for LGBTQ people of color. And I think that's the main thing that I try to bring is representation for LGBTQ people of color, whether that's on social media or in writing articles. I'm a musician myself as well, Adam, and so I try to include that in my artistry too.
Nice.
Kind of just bringing more rep to our people.
Yeah, love that.
Lee, let's go to you. Tell us about what all the amazing stuff that you've got going on, because I know you are keeping busy with us and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, mainly what I've been doing, I actually just graduated from Louisiana State University with a degree in sociology. Thank you. While I was at LSU, I was involved with the LGBTQ organization on campus, Spectrum. I've been president for the past 2 years, vice president for that, and so on. And I also have a radio show called Queer Sphere, where I highlight LGBTQ artists. So really what I've been trying to do, especially being in like Southern Louisiana, in the South, it's really tough. I've been trying to really just give us the representation that we need here on campus in Baton Rouge, where I live. And really just making sure that like we're seen and that we're visible, because we're here and there are a lot of us.
Oh yeah.
And last but not least, Joshua Elmore, what do you have going on? Because I heard a rumor you might be switching states and moving to LA. I don't know, which is great because I'm in LA. So tell me everything, what you've got going on, because you're doing a lot of great work too.
I just recently graduated from Juilliard with a degree in bassoon.
Okay.
So I will be moving to LA to start grad school, so working on my master's in Los Angeles. I've been working with a lot of other GLAAD Campus Ambassadors and alumni that have been in the program in the past, and we're looking to sort of start like maybe a benefit concert, maybe make an album just to sort of raise awareness for, LGBTQ youth and being like, hey, we're here, acknowledge us. I think that's super important to bring representation, especially to the arts. As somebody who's queer and a person of color, I think that's extremely important. So we've been trying to make that happen.
Amazing. And, just a reminder, so, with the GLAAD Campus Ambassadors, what we do at GLAAD is we work with people just like, Matt, Joshua, Lee, and Sumaya to equip them with the knowledge and the skills to really be their local leaders all over the country. And, we know that that is what we need. We need to, get into every state and have people leading the charge. And thank you guys all for doing that. Adam, I would like to talk to you about Pride, because obviously, this is kicking off Pride. What are some of your early, memories of Pride? Because, it's unfortunate that, we all are not going to be able to be together for Pride Month this year. But I do think it's a nice reflection time for us all to remember what Pride means, the importance of it. So, for you, as an out, performer and award winner and all of that, how important is Pride for you?
Well, yeah, I feel like, we're doing everything in our lives right now via technology because of this quarantine situation. And I feel like, although it is a shame that we're not going to get to party together in person, we have to still represent our pride this way this year, and we have to do our part to be proud, to spread the word, to connect with each other, to make each other feel included in a big family. This is more important almost right now than ever, because we're all probably struggling just a little bit right now, my earliest memory of Pride, I think, was being a kid and looking at a photo album that my mom had when she was a teenager. She was in San Francisco for a summer. And her brother and sister lived on Castro Street. And she had these photos of her dancing around with like drag queens on the street. And I was too young to really actually understand what was going on there, but it was the Pride Parade. It was during the summer. And I think it was something that I always went, well, that looks cool. What's that about? And then later when I came out to her, we had this conversation. I was like, well, you've always been around this. How is it for you? And it was a really nice conversation that we had because, she had already been around the gay community and really enjoyed it and didn't have any, preconceived notions or fears. It was already something that she was very comfortable with. And so I do consider myself someone that's lucky that I grew up in a household of very liberal parents. I listen to stories of people coming up back when I was a teenager and even now that have really, really tough times coming out or being who they are. And I always try to kind of take what my parents gave to me and turn that around and try to aim that at anybody that I'm talking to. And I think that's what we have to do for each other. I think acceptance is huge. You can't just tolerate someone. You have to say, no, I accept you for you. I love you for you. I'm ranting. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
No, we are here for it, and I could not agree more. Adam, do you have any questions that you want to talk to any of our campus ambassadors about? Because I know that they have some questions for you, but I wanted to make sure that if you had anything that you wanted to ask them, that you had the opportunity to.
Yeah, what for you guys, from where you're standing right now, what do you feel like is sort of the most important area that we can inject some extra attention into in moving the conversation forward?
That is a great question. Who wants to take it?
Like, what are the challenges do you feel like that are like outstanding, you know?
I'm just gonna say, for me personally, I feel like at this point, we've gotten to a point where we're much more accepting of queer people if they still fit society standards for how we should be. I think we need to work on being more open to, obviously trans people still aren't nearly as accepted as queer people. LGBTQ people of color, non-binary people. It's just, I feel like at this point we've moved forward for those who fit cis-het people mold of what we should be.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And actually, it's one of the most beautiful things that I've been noticing over the past 20 or so years. Talking again about when I was growing up, it was, I mean, the challenge for me when I was in school was like, oh, there are no other gay people. You know, that was the first thing. I didn't really see any gay people on the media, like on TV. There were maybe 2 gay characters randomly on one show and then one other one. And now that we've moved so far past that, I think you're right. I think you know, I love that we're now getting to look at what the idea of queer is and how it's this umbrella that we're all allowed to be a part of. And I think for someone of my generation, I'm still learning. I feel like there's so much to learn. And I think even within the gay community, that tends to be sort of a weird subject, because I think people cross their arms and they're a little bit resistant to trying to understand something new. I mean, I know that when a lot of these conversations about gender first started kind of popping up recently in the last like 5 years or so, it was like I had to learn. I had to go, okay, wait, what? Okay, let me get it. And it's something that was never an option for someone in my age group. We weren't given that freedom. And I'm so in awe of the freedom that everybody has right now to explore exactly who they are, and to be like, to be able to say, well, this is how I describe myself. We didn't have those titles before, and I wish we had. It's a beautiful thing.
Do any of you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I think especially during this time of like kind of isolation and this quarantining and things, that's something that I've been thinking about a lot, is the breakdown of gender. And personally my own gender, my gender identity, and really just like thinking about it from a point that like we made gender up. Like gender was created, coming from like a sociological standpoint, it was created by other people. And I think the idea that like we can break down gender is something that's relatively new. And that really has only come around, like, say, in the past 5 years or so, and really understanding that, like, we can be more than gender. Like, we are people, and we are outside of our gender and sexual orientation, while still holding the idea that is important to us as people, and that personally it's important. The understanding that, like, we can do that now. We can really break that down, and we can really explore ourselves. I think that's something a lot of people should think about, and that's something that I've just been thinking about during all of this stuff happening.
I know, wouldn't it be amazing if everyone across America could hear Lee speak on that? Like that's so
Yeah.
And that's really what's happening. It's, you know, with our work with youth engagement and the GLAAD Campus Ambassadors, we have people that can speak on that and, you know, get people to understand that there is more to gender. You know, it's just, it's really amazing. And that's why we're so happy, Adam, that you're working with us to, you know, raise some money for that. Did Josh or Matt, did either of you want to, you know, jump in and add anything? Because I know I want to make sure you guys have some time too.
I think one, going off what Samaya said, was that, you know, representation in the media is so important. That's why I think shows like Pose, especially in times like now where, you know, everybody's just watching shows on Netflix and, you know, it comes up and people are like, so what is that about? And they might click on it and they might watch it and be like, you know, this is a new experience that I've never had. Let me try to understand, or at least, you know, try to be supportive. And I think that's sort of the start of where I think we need to take in order to, have acceptance for all.
Did you guys feel like when you were growing up at home, was the media, was television and film, was that something that really helped you sort of find your path?
I'd say no for me, just because I didn't feel represented in the media. Because I mean, I can't think of a single queer Indian character on TV right now, and so I kind of, in ways, I felt representation, like, oh, my queerness, I relate to that, but then I wouldn't relate to the whiteness part, and so I'd feel confused and conflicted, and I also felt like I'm not allowed to be queer because I'm Indian. So I'd say like yes and no, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's a great example of we still have so much further to go. I mean, we're definitely not like done working, That's very true.
And just jumping in for 1 second, and Samaya, I'm so glad that you said that, because that ultimately, the overall purpose of GLAAD is to make sure that there are inclusive stories, and fair representations and inclusion for the queer community in all forms. And I do think, things are getting a lot better, but and that's really, why we're working so hard with, TV studios and films and video games and music and, people like Adam Lambert to make sure that, that we are, stories are being told and people feel, included and representative. So yeah. I know that some of you have some questions for Adam. So if anyone would like to take, this opportunity to get to ask a question to a award-winning superstar, I mean, please go ahead.
But let's just talk like I'm a normal dude.
All about the tease, sorry, I'm all like, but
No,
yeah, this is normal guy, Adam Lambert. He's sitting right at the bottom of your screen. Ask him a question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does your music inform your activism? I know, as a fellow musician, I think it's super important to, bring yourself into something and sort of represent what you want in something. And just how does your music and how does your, artistry help inform what you're an activist for and what you're looking to get out of it?
I think in some ways the activism informed the music. I think when I first got into the scene after doing American Idol, I was just sort of like, oh my God, okay, cool, I'm gonna put out an album. And I didn't think about, any sort of leadership or personal responsibility or symbolism. I didn't really think of it as I was going into it. And it very quickly sort of popped up in front of me and I realized, oh, this is kind of a first. Like I didn't ever put that together, but me getting that far on the show, me getting a record deal, there were all these milestones that were reached with that. And I think I was just sort of holding on tight along for the ride at the very beginning because I didn't really know how to ride it. And very quickly over the first couple of years, I realized, okay, yes, I do have a responsibility. Yes, this is an amazing opportunity. And I do want to be bold and to speak very clearly on the things that I believe in. And so getting into the music industry and having like the celebrity thing made me want to be more of an activist. And then I think over the years, all the stuff that I've learned from talking to people, from doing things like this, these panel discussions, going to events, the GLAAD Awards, I always walk away going, oh my God, like that speech was amazing. I think about this stuff, and I know from my last album, I started writing from a place of directly wanting to speak to these issues, in a pop music way. I mean, obviously, it still has to be a pop song, but songs about overcoming adversity are really, really important to me. Giving people anthems, giving people anything that makes them feel liberated and empowered. I think that's the kind of music that I like to share because I feel like it has a greater good to it. So yeah.
Anyone else want to ask Adam a question?
It's kind of tied into what Joshua just said, but how do you feel about being labeled as a queer artist? Because I know for some people that makes them feel like boxed in, but for other people it's important. Like for me, it's important to be labeled as a queer artist because for so long people would tell me, don't include your queerness in your artistry. And I'm sure you experienced that being in the music industry for so long.
It's been a really interesting 10 years because I can't say it's been one thing or another. It's been a mixed experience. You know, I think when I first came out of the scene, because I like to, you know, I was so outrageous looking, I was wearing all that makeup and crazy clothes and stuff. It was like kind of like, yeah, I'm queer, like duh, like this is it. And so it was hard because that sort of started preceding me and my talent in any sort of interview I did, or any sort of, you know, any sort of way where people were sort of putting me into a category. And there was a little while at the very beginning where I sort of resented it, because I thought, well, that's a double standard. That doesn't seem, I don't get it. I don't understand why this is the way it is, you know? I'm just being me, and that's supposed to be celebrated in music. And so it was a bit of a struggle for a couple years, but I think I've come to a point now where I'm like, no, that is me. I can't compartmentalize it. I'm proud of it. I have no shame in my queerness, and I'm gonna lean in. And what I've noticed is that, you know, especially in pop music lately, it's so much about identity. You know, that's what people grab onto. That's why we love the artists we love, is because there's something about them that we identify with, or that we respect, or that we want to sleep next to, or whatever. It's about the person, you know? And I think being unapologetic and being bold and being very matter of fact about my sexuality, I hope that that's one of the things that connects me to my fans. So it's become sort of like a tool. It becomes like a part of the artistry.
Absolutely. And I'd like to kind of go off of that. I mean, for me personally, you've been a big inspiration to me because, I mean, I was a little queer kid in South Louisiana in 2009 when you were on American Idol, you know, kind of living with, I wouldn't say homophobic parents, but just they didn't understand.
Right.
And for them, you were really like one of the first like queer people that they saw, and they were like, that's just another person. Like, that's a musician, that's an artist, because you were so talented on that show. And like, I mean, I've seen you multiple times in concert and stuff. And I mean, I just want you to know that like there are people that you're reaching, people like me who didn't see representation as little kids, and like now as a 22-year-old, and I've been with you your whole like career and seen the stuff that you've done, you're an inspiration to people.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I just wanted to say that.
That's the thing, is that there have been moments over the past 10 years where I've thought to myself, you know, life isn't fair. I mean, that's a big wake-up call. You have to kind of, you know, and I sometimes I go, oh, why don't I have so-and-so's success or so-and-so's success? But one of the things about having personal satisfaction and being able to be happy is finding what your version of success is, and getting to hear something like that, getting to know fans that I can identify with, people that have been through maybe a similar circumstance as me, or people that I've been able to sort of give some strength to. I mean, that's what it's about. And that sounds cliche and it sounds kind of corny, but it actually, like, it is one of the main things that has kept me invested in this and has kept me happy, is hearing, hey, thank you, because now I can be who I want to be. And that's been my biggest fantasy, is liberating people, giving people tools to feel themselves, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. So thank you.
Thank you, really.
Does anyone have any last questions before we wrap up?
I have one question. Do you have any up-and-coming LGBTQ queer artists on your radar that we should be aware of?
Yes. What's his name? Durand Burt. What's his last name? Do you know who I'm talking about? What's his name? Hold on, I'm gonna find his name. I love the song that he just put out. Isaac Dunbar.
Ooh. Okay.
That's it.
Awesome. I'll prompt you. We'll do one more thing. So does anyone else have another question that they'd like to ask Adam?
Let me pop in here. Do you have any up and coming LGBTQ queer artists that we should have on our radar?
I think Isaac Dunbar seems really exciting. He's put out a couple songs. They're very interesting. He's got a cool voice. There was a song he put out called Makeup Drawer that was just like so interesting. Like just like the lyrics and just the concept was very interesting to me. He seems cool. I want to know more. I feel like he's got a lot that he's gonna whip out for us, you know?
Adam, what's in your makeup drawer? No, I'm just kidding.
Everything.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you, Adam, so much, and to your foundation, the Feel Something Foundation, and thank you, Map, Joshua, Lee, Samaya. Just a reminder that Adam's auction that's partnering with us and eBay for charity will be from June 1st until June 11th. There are 15 outfits that are being auctioned off. I hear there's Versace, I hear there's Balmain, Saint Laurent, it's all there. And I'll reminder that 100%.
None of it fits me anymore. Quarantine 15, woo!
But just a reminder that 100% of the proceeds from the eBay auction are going to go to GLAAD's work with youth engagement, and obviously, which is going to support all of these great people that you've heard from today. You can go to ebay.com/Adam Lambert. And look, last time we did this, it raised $50,000, and I know that might be out of, price range for some people, but if anyone does want to support GLAAD's youth engagement work, the GLAAD Campus Ambassadors, you can just go to GLAAD.org and click on donate. So thank you everyone so much. It's been a pleasure.